Hey everyone and welcome. My name is Matt with FITGMR, and today we're going to talk about the two biggest nutritional mistakes that gamers make. I work with professional gamers around the world, and I want to share my experience and some of just the simplest things that you can do to not only improve your health, but improve your game performance. So let's get into it. I know what you're thinking. More nutritional advice. There are thousands of videos out there on YouTube about nutrition, and everyone has their opinion, and it's always debatable. There's always someone talking about the best diet. There's always someone telling you what time to eat. I'm not going to talk about that here today. Today, we're gonna focus on added sugars and processed foods and how those can drastically improve your health and game performance. Let's be clear about added sugars. The added sugar that's added in to foods, boxed foods, most of your processed food, anything that's packaged. These are the added sugars that we're discussing today, not sugars that naturally occur in fruit or vegetables. So we're not talking about sugars that naturally occur in foods. We're talking about added sugar. The American Heart Association recommends that the average human being consume less than 24 grams of added sugar each day. It's about 2 tablespoons of added sugar each day. I have a tablespoon here, so it's 2 of these per day of added sugar that's recommended. The average person consumes 14 tablespoons per day, which is almost 88 grams of sugar. And to give you an idea, a visual on that, that's a lot of added sugar each day. And to even give you a little bit more of an idea, each week the average person consumes 6 to 7 cups of added sugar. And to really blow your mind, the average person consumes 70 to 80 pounds of added sugar each year. This is a 70-pound kettlebell. How do we find the added sugar in the things that we eat? The best way to do that is to look at the labels. Let's take the first meal of the day, breakfast. Let's start by reaching for that box of cereal. If we go to the label on this particular box, we'll find the added sugar listed. It has 4 grams of sugar, but be careful. 4 grams of sugar, we have to check the serving size, which is up at the top. For this particular box of cereal, it's 4 grams of sugar for 1 cup. That's just one example. The other example I have is yogurt. On this particular yogurt, this is a Chobani Greek yogurt, and it has 14 grams of added sugar. So if we ate this in the morning thinking we were reaching for something healthy, we'd find ourselves almost halfway to our 24 grams or less of added sugar recommended by the American Heart Association. So we really want to be thinking about what we reach for and start to look at the label to see how many added sugars are in the foods that we consume each day. I'll give you another example of how added sugar can kind of sneak its way in to our diets each day. This is ketchup. And we just put a little bit on, say, a hamburger. This has 4 grams of added sugar per tablespoon. So a single tablespoon has 4 grams of sugar. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I like to pour my ketchup all over my hamburger. So I'm putting a lot of sugar, added sugar, that I didn't know I was putting into my diet. So it really kind of creeps up on you. So why do we care about added sugars in our diet, or excessive added sugars? Even though we are young as gamers, or maybe there's a lot of us that are old gamers, we still want to be concerned about the diseases related to excessive added sugar consumption, such as cancer, type 2 diabetes. There's a slew of cardiovascular diseases associated with excessive added sugar consumption, type 2 diabetes, obesity. We want to avoid these things, and it starts from a very young age, creating these healthy habits. So we want to think about how our gaming is affected by added sugars. One thing we know about how added sugar affects our gaming is that it decreases our cognitive functioning. That's that process where we kind of have a head fog, or we're just feeling tired or lethargic. These are a result of an excessive added sugar diet. So let's move on to processed foods. As I said before, processed foods are boxed or they're packaged. They're typically found at most grocery stores in the middle of the grocery store. So that's the frozen sections, the packaged sections, the dry section. Canned foods, lunch meats, cheeses have a lot of process that goes through them, so they add chemicals and additives. This is the type of processed foods that we want to avoid. Chips, cookies, things that are in bags, packages, boxes. Foods that we know that are not going to have a ton of chemicals and additives are typically going to come from Mother Nature. They're typically going to come from the ground or perhaps from an animal. So how does processed foods affect our health and gaming? Very similar to the added sugars. Because we find a lot of the added sugars in processed food, it's the same type of effect that's going to have on our bodies. There's a whole myriad of diseases, autoimmune diseases, cardiovascular diseases. It basically sends our metabolic process through an entire roller coaster throughout the day. It creates hyperactivity in us, and it creates that brain fog, that inability to focus because our body is having to process all of these chemicals and added sugars. So I want to encourage all of you to take the challenge, 24 grams or less of added sugar each day. This is a challenge that I've been doing for a few weeks now. It's not easy, but even a single day of doing 24 grams of sugar or less will help you understand how much added sugar you're actually consuming. It will kind of throw a light bulb for you and go, wow, I had no idea I was consuming that much added sugar each day. Give it a try. Make it a 1-day challenge, make it a 2-week challenge, make it a 30-day challenge. Whatever it is that you want to do, go for it. And you'll find that you'll be pleasantly surprised that either you're not eating a whole lot of added sugar, or maybe you are eating a whole lot of added sugar. Either way, it's going to improve your health and your game performance. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you found this information enjoyable. And please hit that like button and click to subscribe if you want to hear more about how to improve your health and your game performance. Thanks a lot.